Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Lots of questions to be asked tonight and lots to talk about. But first, we are going to talk about James Forrest. Just say good evening in the chat first of all. Good evening. Joseph Davidson's in the chat, Mark's in the chat. Stephen Johnson's in the chat and quite a few others. But anyway, James Forrest, he's a little bit concerned about his retirement. What will James Forrest do next? He's still enjoying every moment at Celtic. Getting that goal on the last day of last season was absolutely fantastic for James. And will he do the same this year? Will he wait till he's late in the season to score, to make sure that it's something like 17 seasons in a row that he scored? He made his goal-scoring debut for Celtic back in 2010. A last-gap equaliser against St Mirren in the final game of last season made it 16 in a row. Will he make it 17? 17 seasons. He's won 13 titles, 7 Scottish Cups, 6 League Cups, winners' medals over a fantastic career. But as he comes towards the end of his career, he says he just tries to enjoy every day. Obviously, I've loved his time here. It's all he's ever known. Ever since he left school at 15, 16. He says, all I've done is play football. It's all that I've ever known. It's been my entire life. He's not too sure whether he's going to play for another team to extend his career. He's no idea what the future holds for him. He wants to keep on playing as long as he can, but it's scary. Do Celtic offer him something in the background? Do you think that Celtic should offer him a coaching role? I hope they do. You need to keep someone like James Forrest at the club. James may have his own ambitions, of course. He may go into television. He's not really the talkative type, though, is he? He may go into coaching. He may want to go away and learn his trade, like what Scott Brown's currently doing. But I would love to have him at Celtic. If Darren O'Dea can get the pathway manager job at Celtic, why can't James Forrest? It's made for him. The pathway manager's job is made for James Forrest. If you want anyone at the club to talk to players, to younger players, about their experience of coming through the system, staying at the club, you know, the possibility of moving away, the thoughts on other players coming in to take your position. He has so much knowledge of the game for younger players, and I think that it would be unbelievable if Celtic were to let him go and walk away from Celtic for absolutely nothing. But James Forrest did say in the interview, he said, look, Celtic might chuck me out the door. It says, when I've played with players who have retired and different people go down different paths once they finish, but I don't really know what I want to do. I think it's scary because all I've done is this for 20 odd years. It's been unbelievable. It's been really good. I've given everything to Celtic and I will continue until my contract is up. They might shove me out the door. We'll see what happens. I don't think they will. I mean, James Forrest, he's just a legend. He is a living legend, and he's a player that Celtic really need to get something sorted out with in the background. Tell me in the comments, what do you think should happen with Jamesy Forrest? Jamesy Forrest should take it to Tim Sherwood's book. I have no idea what Tim Sherwood's doing. But there you go. Different opinions is all that really matters. Anyway, in another piece of Celtic news, and this leads on to the sort of main stories about a couple of things that I've seen online. Now, I did contact a couple of guys online they're intelligent guys, and they have opinions about Celtic. They're not in any of the fan media or anything like that, but it was an interesting post it had on social media. But Celtic, are they missing the point, or are they trying to ride the wave of modern pop? I don't know what the hell Celtic are doing. Today they put out a blog post, an exclusive interview with Oasis logo designer. They're now going out and doing interviews with logo designers. Which part of Celtic? I sometimes struggle with all the content that Celtic could produce. Celtic have got content on tap. it is not only a marketing manager's dream, something like Celtic, but a content creator. The Celtic media department, I have no idea what's going on, and putting out this. I mean, I'll roughly go through this exclusive interview. Scotland is preparing for the Oasis. For me, the Charlatans, Happy Mondays, and bands like that were way better than Oasis. That's just my opinion. They were out way before, and I think that they were way better. Anyway, we digress. And having had gigs in Manchester. They head to Murrayfield on Friday, Saturday and Tuesday. Friday, Saturday, Tuesday. What, they having Sunday, Monday off? Like. The legendary pop group with their headlines and their gigs in Cardiff, Manchester and London so far. Next stop is Edinburgh. Blah, blah, blah. They spoke to the Celtic View. Spoke to Brian Cannon, the man who designed the original logo for their album work in 1990s. Oh man, do you know what? I might just go out and try and get an interview with Ice-T, because Ice-T and his album was just fucking phenomenal in the 1980s, and it's probably one of the best albums out there. I don't know what's going on. It then goes on to say they knew they couldn't care less what some music reporter or journalist didn't like them, but the creative process was controlled by them. So who gives a flying? Are they missing the point with the Celtic supporters at the moment? Are they not reading the room, as they say? There's never been anything like it, and there's never been anything like it before, and there never will be again. What a load of nonsense! Happy Mondays, the Charlatans. The lead singer of the Charlatans, well, if you ask me, Liam from Oasis just copied everything that the lead singer from the Charlatans done way before him. The way that he stands with the microphone and everything. Go and check out videos. I just don't get it. And I think that Celtic are ultimately missing the point when it comes to fans, which does take us into the next part of the video. On Twitter today, it's not a place that I usually frequent, but there was an interesting post by this guy, James. Don't want that, I want this. So yeah, that wasn't it, was John. He says, hello Michael. Today I'm going to be, it says, he sent this to Peter Lawwell originally, a letter. But he's now decided to send it to Michael and Chris. He says, I put myself in context with you both. Understand, I am a commercial lawyer of 18 years, season ticket holder, minor shareholder, Celtic Foundation donor and small business owner, etc. In a few weeks' time, I'll have spent around £1,000 on Celtic tickets. I'm not being funny, like, but why has he not got corporate seats? That's just my opinion. With all that cash that he's got, and he should take corporate seats. Even club Celtic seats, they're only $2,500, mate. Do you know what I mean? Put it through the books. Put it through the books. If you've got your own business, get corporate seats, $2,500, dentist, lawyer, and then put it through the books. It's easily done. I did it for a couple of years. Went right through the books. Tax deductible. Anyway, he says, I'm amazed that approaching the Champions League qualifiers and hopefully the Champions League proper with the squad of players that is objectively unfit for the challenges ahead. The club has sold two of our best players, Kyogo and Kun, and failed to replace them. If you're not going to invest in world-class manager to do the work with, it's playing the huge cash reserves that the club is building up, given projected operating costs and financial fair play. They both know that the rainy day fund is no longer a plausible answer. And I quite like that, do you know, the rainy day fund, because that's what Celtic always put it out as. They put it out as the rainy day fund for days that they didn't get into the Champions League and such like. And I think that it's... There's the comments. There we go. Got the comments up on the screen. It was an interesting one. the fact that he is bemoaning the fact that we do have all this money in the bank. But it wasn't the best one. The best one goes to a guy that actually contacted. And he put it out a little bit better. And this is the view from outside Celtic Park on the first game of the season. Now, the reason that I want to talk about this is I'm friends with a guy down in Manchester who runs a commercial cleaning company. They do external cleaning for Manchester City, Manchester United, etc. And they also do a lot. It's quite a big firm that he's got down in Manchester, and I've known him for a number of years. And he always posts on his company's Instagram. He reposts it on his own Instagram as well. The work that they do outside Manchester City before the start of the season, and even inside the ground, how everything gets cleaned, power washed, the outside of the stadium, the pathways, etc. You know, everything gets done. And when I found this post, and I messaged Keith and asked him if I could use this post, and I asked him if he wanted to come on and talk about it. But he says, not only have Celtic invested little in the first team improvements so far this summer, with the Champions League approaching, but I thought the exterior of the stadium could have looked better as I headed to the North Stand last Sunday. Time to get their act together on several fronts. And he posted the picture of the stadium minus, I mean, it could have been for weather damage, but you would think the week before, are Celtic letting us down on various fronts? I think the question really should be, because when you look at that and you look at the outside of the stadium with all the money that we've got, and Celtic will have a look at the Celtic way, you know, look at it coming up to the front of the stand. The majority of fans don't go near the Celtic way. The majority of fans come from this direction that this guy's walking, up from the Gallagate, and down towards the North Stand, which a lot of them sit, or the Lisbon Lions stand. When you think of what the exterior of the stadium could look like and should look like, you know, we were champions again. We were champions again. We were raising the flag, and I've said that even the Flag Day celebrations, it's the same Flag Day celebrations that we do year in, year out. They don't mix it up any. It's minimum spend stuff. There's a serious case of minimum spend going on at Celtic right now, and I really don't know why. And it was interesting just to see some of the comments on Keith's post also, which was interesting to say the least. It was interesting to say the least. But, you know, it is Celtic. And another bit of Celtic news, I'm going to talk about two ex-Celtic players. One player that I thought at the time should not have been sold. Little player from Edinburgh. Fantastic player. His brother played for Celtic and came through the system just the year after he left. But Liam Henderson has just joined Sampdoria. And you're thinking, so what? At 29-year-old, it's his sixth Italian club. He's played for 6 Italian clubs. Now you may be thinking, so what? I would say that Italian football is a lot better than Scottish football. Undoubtedly. And it's probably one of the fastest growing leagues in Europe right now in terms of attracting players. It does seem to be going, it has got a little bit of a coming back into its heyday after being in the doldrums for quite a few years. But I thought that Liam Henderson at 29, do you know, if Celtic still had him in the midfield, he was a fantastic player. But he's teamed up with Massimo Donati. Super Massimo Donati. Back in the day when Celtic fans didn't really like know how to put songs together. And I just thought it was interesting that he's now gone to his 6th club. But the one that caught my eye was one that kind of sticks in the throat. And you need to take a drink for this one. Ben Doak. He'd be as well called Ben Dover as far as Celtic are concerned. But Ben Doak has been put up for sale by Liverpool. And Liverpool want around about 20 million for the player. Player that was allowed to walk away for Celtic from absolutely nothing for 435 grand or something. He's been at Merseyside since 2022. And to be fair, he's not really done a lot. He was put out on loan. He made his appearances against, was it Dundee United and Rangers? And he was only 16 or something at the time. Celtic did want to try and keep him, but it was one of those ones where he went, no, I'm going to go to Liverpool. They promised me first team football. They put me on bigger wages. Do you know? But his valuation at 20 million is ridiculous, if you ask me. Do you value, tell me in the comments, do you value Ben Doak at 20 million? But as our league is rubbish, mate. Yeah, I know it is, Jim, but you've got to try and talk it up. You've got to try and talk Scottish football up a little bit. No Super Mo, nah. Paul McStay probably paid Celtic to fly in. Aye, he probably did. Yeah, didn't even go down that road. So what is the plan? What is the plan for Celtic? None of us know. And are you happy with the exterior of the building at Celtic Park? I'll just read some of the comments. Yeah, maybe it's that time for Jordan Larson to be linked again. Any update on the Liverpool lad to Celtic? No, I'm not adding to any speculation with players now. I said a couple of videos ago that, do you know what? It's just speculation. There is nothing concrete at all coming out of Celtic until we hear that a player is on his way for a medical. There's no use talking about players. If you look at the number of players that we've spoken about over the summer, look at the amount of players that we've spoke about, wingers, holding midfield players, big French guy, remember him that was linked? There was around about 15 players linked with Celtic already this year. And I just think that nobody really knows what's going on. And Celtic I think Celtic are playing a crossword puzzle with the names. I think they've just, Brendan Rodgers has given them a name and they've put it on a crossword puzzle and let Nicholson figure it out. But anyway, that's the board. They've given up. Are you tell me in the comments, are you happy with the outside of the stadium and the fact that it wasn't looking its best for Flag Day? Yeah, 20 million for Ben Doak. I don't think he was. I mean, he maybe have been worth it if he had stayed at Celtic, and he went into the Champions League and all the rest of it. But Irishman Report says we don't need players. We've got a brand new golf merch to buy. Oh, they haven't put out golf merch, have they? I'm going to end up blocking Celtic. Unbelievable. Out of the 15, only 4 were actual targets. Paul Baird says it's more like 50. More like 50 players that have been linked to Celtic. Yeah, so talking about anybody else that's going to potentially come to Celtic. Celtic will benefit 2.5 million for Ben Doak. I don't think there's a sell-on clause, but there is a clause when players cross international borders. But because it's still in the English Premiership, I'm not sure exactly how that will work out. If Celtic will get any money from Liverpool, they will have to get something. It's generally It's the rules with UEFA are generally the club who brought them through the most get some kind of kickback. Flying Column says we will draw with Aberdeen at the weekend. Will we draw with Aberdeen at the weekend? I don't think so. I think it'll be a tough game, but I do expect Celtic to win. And I'm just optimistic that way. I always think Celtic will win. If we start dropping points at this time of the season, it's never a good thing. And if we drop any kind of points between now and October, it will put the manager under extreme pressure. And the fans will start turning on the manager. Through no fault of his own, but your managers are always put in front of results. And even though it's not the manager's fault that he hasn't been able to get the players in, for me, we've went backwards this summer. Nobody could say anything otherwise. I mean, the squad is not as strong as what it needs to be to go into 4 competitions. That's for sure. Celtic don't sign players this month. We can kiss the league goodbye. Our players need help. Yes, Stuart, we're going to sign players. Don't worry about that. We will sign players. Even if it's 3 players on the final day of the transfer window, we will sign players. There's no doubt about it. I'm not worrying about Celtic not signing players, put it that way. It's just a matter of timing. And Celtic historically do a lot of their business towards the end of the window. Someone just said there's no toilet paper in the loo. That's embarrassing, Celtic. What? Usual Celtic complete shambles for the stadium. We should be putting the capacity. Is there the appetite though? Is there the appetite? Look at how many fans. Right, look at the first game of the season. And if you want to get pernickety about why, I'm going to give you the reason why Celtic will not increase the stadium size. For all you fans that sit at home and say, yeah, it'll be great to go to the game. The game at the weekend, late on in the game, and you look at the way that the game's going, and with 10 minutes to go, every single game, Celtic fans get up and start leaving so they can beat the traffic. It's a reality of modern day fans that you see at Celtic. It never used to be as bad as what it is now. I think it's worse now. Towards the end of the last season, it was even worse. But there's too many games where a lot of fans just don't turn up. There are too many games where they have their season tickets and they come along for the big games. I just don't see that. I don't think there's an appetite within the Celtic board to increase the size of the stadium. There's a lot other things that they could do with spending the money on before increasing the capacity. Increasing the capacity at Celtic is not the answer to our problems. It's not the answer. Increasing the capacity, to me, would just make us look worse when where are you going to fit another 10,000 people parking around about the stadium? You can't. Celtic Park as a venue is almost getting as bad as Hampden. I mean, we've got the bus park, and then we can park buses, but there's not enough fans. Too many fans want to go in their cars. It takes too long to get home in the bus. You know, I don't want to go in the supporters bus. It takes too long to get home. I could jump in the car and be home in 20 minutes. You know, I don't want to get a bus to Coatbridge. I don't want to get a bus to Motherwell. Don't want to get a bus to Hamilton. You know, don't want to get a bus to Bells Hill, wherever. Do you know, and that's only because I know there's buses that come from there. They want to jump in their car and get onto the motorway and get away home. And that's the truth of the fact. Where do you then put in parking for an extra 10,000 fans at Celtic Park? You can't. The logistics just isn't there. You would have to build a massive underground bunker type car park, and that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. The Aberdeen player's never coming. Jim F, the ex-Aberdeen player's never coming. No bags, lose shit. Get Keith out to clean it up. Well, he is. He's an intelligent guy, Keith. He's not the usual type of person that comments on Twitter. Put it that way. He doesn't comment too much on Twitter, and looking at his background, he is an intelligent guy. That's why I actually contacted him. Don't forget the American merch. Oh God, don't even forget about that. The American merch. And like I said to Baz, we couldn't sell Kuhn for 20 million, but they want 20 million for Ben Doak. Piss off, says Michelle. Yeah, it's we would want 20 million for Ben Doak if he had stayed at Celtic and played at Celtic over the last couple of years, and we were selling him this summer. We would want 20 million for him. It is just the way it is, I'm afraid, and especially down south. No, I didn't see the golf merch, Paul Baird. I'm going to have to go and look for it now. Oh, God, man. They should. Do you know what? I wouldn't mind as much, right? But if you follow, remember the YouTuber that sneaked into Celtic Park a few years ago with his mum, Simon Wilson. He's just been employed by Liverpool and Adidas to showcase the new Liverpool Adidas shop at Anfield, and which has been all done up by Adidas. And Celtic get the raw end of the deal. Celtic do get the raw end of it. I've never been in it. I mean, the shop at Celtic Park, it's the same as it's looked since it was built. But Adidas, having just went back to doing Liverpool kits this season, I believe, have totally refurbished the Anfield Superstore. Call it a Superstore. And the amount of merch that they've got on display, they even have an upstairs bit in the shop which has a museum section to it where it shows Bill Shankly's training top and things like that. And it's all about creating interest. Celtic are fucking way off the point with it again. Do you know what? It's just we're way off the boil with so many things. We're lagging behind. 20 million on Barrowfield. What the hell was that all about? You know, spend the 40 million on the hotel, get the hotel and the museum and new superstore built, and I think that the board take the piss out of our fans. I do think there is a turning of the tide this season, and I don't think that it's intentional, but I think that the transfer window has put a lot of spotlight back on the board that didn't need to be there. But should the board be more open in the way that Peter Lawwell used to talk to the fan base? Because there's one thing that Nicholson doesn't do. He just doesn't talk to the fan base. Reading some of the comments, Michael Nicholson was given a letter a while ago signed on behalf of all the major supporters groups representing thousands of Celtic supporters, didn't even acknowledge. That's how much he cares what the fans think. And then there's another one. And he says, this would be the reply from Celtic. Dear lawyer, here's what we're going to do. We're going to spend it on players that we're going to buy. It's got fuck all to do with you. He says, we're the board, shut the fuck up, you're a fan, yours, Celtic. There's another one. I complained to the club last year about the ridiculous and misleading own a virtual piece of Celtic Park. I was told it would be passed on to the commercial team, etc., and received nothing back. Total waste of time. There's zero communication with the supporters, which is criminal. Dermot Desmond has the club in stagnation. Is stale. Keep asking questions of them. Keep putting pressure on them. It's the only way we're going to get it. Is there a turning point? Is there a mid-1990s point starting with Celtic? Are we at a point where the fan base were back in the 1990s? where the fan base was fed up of the board and fed up with the board the way the direction that they were taking the club. Are we on the verge of having one of those episodes again at Celtic? Tell me in the comments. This year's home shirt is alright. It is alright. It is alright, but Tiddlywinks merch coming soon, says Ian. Oh, I'm going to have to look at this golf merch. I'm trying to stay away from Celtic stuff. I'm trying to stay away from it because Umbro. Lawwell doesn't do it anymore because he gets abused from the supporters, and it's not Lawwell's point to do it. That's the thing. It's not Lawwell's point. It's not his job. It's Nicholson's. And Michael Nicholson, the only way that we're going to get any kind of serious change is by hitting them in the pocket. It's as simple as that. But the modern day Celtic fan base is so diverse and so all over the place. I don't think that the fan base could come together the way that they did back in the 1990s. I don't think there's an appetite for it. The board gets too many plaudits for the financial situation that it's in, and it's the feel-good factor. And then you'll get people that will throw well, you don't want to be like the club in 2012 that died. Well, that's never going to happen. Do you know, people forget that Fergus McCann put things in place so that would never happen. So folk that throw out that kind of thing are the same folk that probably shout refugees not welcome. Anyway, enough of that, because he's not allowed to talk politics. Desmond has to be more hands-on. It's not going to be him, it has to be his son. I got the official Celtic top. Players wear apparently. It only see his 50 quid. Yeah. A poll baz, should Celtic bring out more golf polos? No, I just think that Celtic are just... I know what they're doing. I know what Celtic are doing, and they're trying to emulate as much as some of the big teams in the Adidas range do. But if I was Celtic, I would say I'd be going to them, look, I see what you just did with Liverpool shop. How about some investment in our supermarket? They call it the superstore. Remember when they used to call it a superstore? What do they call it now? A fucking superstore. Whoever come up with that? I've just bought a new Celtic third ping pong, third warm up for Adidas. Well smart, says Gareth. Yeah, I'm not disputing that the Celtic Adidas stuff is smart. I mean, I love the Celtic Adidas range. It's the best Adidas gear that we've had, and I hated the Nike stuff with that big stupid tick. I never liked the Nike range stuff, was terrible. But Adidas has been my go-to brand of trainers since I was a kid. Well, since I was a teenager and able to buy my own trainers. Because came from a Kunsel family. There's no way that my mum and dad were buying me Adidas trainers when I was a kid. There was 4 of us, for goodness sake. You know, minor sons and daughters, kids, never got Adidas trackies or trainers back in the 1980s. That's a fact. It's a Buckshee rip-off store. It's not. I mean, I think that it has a good point to it, but I do think that the fact that the shop is the Celtic shop is the exact same as it's been for the last 10 years. You need to reinvent, as a club, you need to reinvent yourself. It's 2025. We need to be putting, I mean, if you want a return on investment, Barrafield's not going to give you a return on your investment for many, many years. Simple as that. If you want, we used to wear gold platoons. We've never been so well off. We've never been so well off as a club. And that's my point. And that is my point. And we can talk up the club, and we can talk about all the good stuff that the board are doing. But I think in this day and age, if we want to be a real top European team, which they keep on talking about, it's the buzzword. Kicks and samba back in the 70s. Yep. Today's kids get everything. Nah, they don't get everything. They don't, because everything's too friggin' expensive now. I mean, you're not buying your kid every single bit of merch that comes out. That's a certainty, because Jesus, folk would need to take out second mortgages. But anyway, talking about Celtic and the fact that they've never been so well off, they're holding money back for a reason. Now, be it the next manager, to invest in the next manager, be it to finally come out and reapply for the permission for the hotel and the museum and ticket office that was all due an upgrade 8 years ago. I don't think as a club, the people in charge, they can be as Celtic minded as they want. But I think the worst thing that happened to Celtic, and I'm going to say it, I think the worst thing that happened to Celtic over the last few years was Dominic Mackay getting chased out of Celtic. I think that the day that he got kicked out, I always remember, and I've spoken about this before on the channel, I always remember the enthusiasm that Dom Mackay and Ange Postecoglou had for Celtic when the two of them came in. It was a new dawn. It was a new way of taking the club forward. There was a new way of looking at the club in a European context. Do you know, there was so much forward thinking that it was like, yes. But we're back to the same way that we were back in 2018. We've just went back the way. That's just my feeling. I don't know about yous, but anyway. Of course, they swept up Scotland winning trebles. Yeah, but the trebles have kind of dried up, haven't they? Do you not think that... I mean, even when Ange got here, he done the double in his first year. He did the treble. Yeah, that's all good. And is that... If that is all the objective is, Barca boy, right? If that's the objective, and come out and say it, the board should just come out and say it. Look, our objective is just to be in Europe, whether it be the Champions League or Europa League. Our objective is to try and get into the Champions League, and that's it. Whether we're fucking getting humped week in, week out, we don't care. As a board, we just want to be there for the prestige. The prestige. That's all they see it as. The prestige of being in the Champions League. There's no ambition whether to try and finish top 8th in the Champions League phase. And I think there should be a bit more ambition now from the board. And, you know, it's every year that we're in the league, you want to try and finish up a little bit higher. You want to try and see if we could finish in that top 8 position. Finishing 8th in the Champions League phase isn't an impossible for achievement for Celtic. It would be hard, yes, of course it would be hard, but it's not impossible. And I think that that's the kind of achievement, small increments to achieving. Let's see if we could finish top 8, so that we get that 9.2 million for automatically qualifying for the last 16. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer. You finished 8th position in the Champions League. You then get a check, 9.2 million, straight into the last 16. Happy days, TV money, everyone goes through the roof. But if that's not the objective, if the objective is just to keep on winning the league, try and win a treble, win a double, win the league, and just participate in the Champions League, would you not respect the board more if the fans came out, if the board come out and say, yeah, that's the objective, that's the business plan? The board are scared to come out and say that in case fans go, fuck off, it's not good enough. I think the fans would come out and say, right, at least we know what we're paying for. At least we know what our season ticket money is going to go for every season. At least we know the ambitions and the objectives for the club and a 5-year plan. Do you know, any other business, any business in the world sits down with 3 5-year plans, 10-year plans. When a manager comes in, if he's given a 3-year contract, Celtic should have a thought out business plan for 3 years. Here's what we're going to spend year 1 transfers. Here's what we're going to spend on year 2. Here's what we'll spend year 3. Slight increments each year, depending on results going into the Champions League, etc. And with the improvement of making the football team slightly better in a European context year after year. That's a no-brainer. That's a completely no-brainer. Baz, I travel to most home games from bus from Belfast. You're right. Too many cars. If fans went on club buses, there are plenty of room to up the capacity. It's just my take on it. We said, I mean, I was bus convener. I know big Mr. Dara that runs quite a few buses from Belfast. I know how much effort that he puts into running those buses. And I know a couple of other buses that come out of Ireland, Dublin, you know, all over Scotland. There's buses that are running at capacity, but you could put on another bus. Simple as that. You can put on another bus. And I mean, I know buses that are running with 57 seaters and minibuses as well. You know, you could run 2 57 seaters if it would be the case, and then you're not having to have the craziness of the amount of cars that are there. Adidas, I remember the classic boots we were pushed today. Do you not think that with all the Celtic merch it's diluting the Celtic brand? No, Baztech. Adidas is very good at merchandise and very good at tops. There's the Adidas shops in, I mean, I've seen a Celtic top in an Adidas shop in Murcia, which isn't a tourist destination. Do you know, it's a Spanish city, and it's a team. Elche, not Murcia, Elche. It was in Elche. It's not a tourist city at all. Nothing like it. Elche have just got back into the La Liga, but when I went into the Adidas shop in Elche, there was a Celtic top in it. That's what makes the brand better. You've got young kids going, I like that top. Celtic top. But it's a cracking top. Do you know, that's where the extra money comes in. That's one of the reasons that Adidas is good, because it can expand the reach of the club through merchandise. Because Celtic are absolutely garbage at trying to expand the reach of the club through other means. But the deal with Adidas is, for me, is a good one. And I'll never bemoan the fact that I would never say that it's diluting the brand. I don't think it's diluting the brand. I think it's a fantastic deal. And when you see things like that in first hand, you see a young Spanish kid that has no idea who Celtic are really, but he loves the camouflage top, and he gets it on in the shop, and he's keeping it on. It's a camouflage Adidas top. Do you know what I mean? It's brilliant. It's a Celtic top. His mum and dad's looking at him and going, it's fucking Glasgow Celtic. What the fuck's that all about? But the kid wants it, and it's like, buys it for them. That's the kind of stuff that wee boy will remember that, and he'll grow up and he'll be like, Celtic. And, do you know, in this day and age, he's probably on his wee mobile phone. He's like, Celtic. And he's looking up Celtic stuff. That's how you grow the fan base. You know, that Man United were masters of it years ago. When Manchester United had over £300 million in the bank, 300 million cash in the bank, and the Glazers went, we'll have some of that. We'll tell you what, we'll take that off your hands and we'll buy it. Maybe that's what Celtic are trying to do. I don't know. Maybe they are trying to emulate the 300 grand that Man United had back in the day. And you never know. Brendan needs to tell the board that he wants players in now and no more messing about. He'll get them in before the end of the transfer window. There's no doubt about it. I do believe that we will get some players in before the Champions League qualifier game, but the big part of the window will happen after the Champions League qualifier, and whether it's right or not, we talk about it every summer. Definitely not impossible. Nope. Celtic board and Champions League offer coat and knickers, says Gareth. Yeah, you're maybe right there. You're maybe right. I'm just going to run through some of these. They want Milan, Paris, New York fashion shoots in Celtic gear. I don't think you'll get Adidas doing Milan, Paris, London and New York fashion shoots, but never mind. Never mind. I'm just trying to run through these comments. You're just saying, finishing 8th isn't an achievement when and isn't die be happy. Even if objective current squad isn't set to meet it, far from it. Yeah, trying to finish 8th in the Champions League. I don't think that. I mean, that's a manager objective. I think that the objective, and it was very, very telling when Brendan Rodgers said, "Look, if you just want someone just to maintain the club in its current little joyous moment, you better look somewhere else, because he's not the man to just sit and look after something." You know, Brendan Rodgers is the type of guy that needs a target, needs something to hit, needs something to aim for. If you've not got nothing to aim for, rather than just win the league, because the objective isn't trebles. The objective isn't trebles by the board. The objective every year is just to win the league and be dominant in Scotland by winning the league and getting that Champions League spot. And incidentally, Scotland have dropped down 2 places, and it's now going to be a few years until we get guaranteed Champions League football again, unless some of the teams other than Celtic and the other mob across the city can do something in Europe this season to get us up the coefficient. I've never seen any club win as much as they complain. Do people not have a right to complain even when you win? Right? See, Ziggy Diamond, I'm going to flip that, because you can keep on winning, and I've spoke about this before. You can keep on winning, but you can have a decline in business costs. Now, having run several businesses over the years, and I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to finances of business. Celtic can reduce the wage bill and keep on winning. In the board's mind, that's managed decline. They're managing a reduction in the wage bill and expense to the board, and they're increasing profitability. Now, when they put out as much merch as possible, that gives the opportunity for the board to then increase profitability of the club, giving them a fantastic return on investment for the Adidas deal. If they keep on winning the league year in, year out, and the expense of the players keeps coming down and down and down, it means the profitability and the balance sheet of the club goes up, the bonuses of the board go up. And go and check out the the community tab, because Mr. Nicholson gets £92,000 a year paid into his pension by Celtic. There are people on this video chat that will not have, there'll be people watching this video that will not have a pension of £92,000. But Michael Nicholson gets paid 92 grand into his pension pot every year by Celtic. I'm just saying. So you can complain and keep on winning. Do you think that Barcelona fans don't complain when they lose out to Real Madrid or when they keep on winning? You know, Barcelona were in debt by a lot of money. And what did they do? they went, do you know what? We're going to knock down the stadium and we're going to build a bigger stadium so that it can hold 105,000 people. 105,000 people. And we can make more money with more bums on seats. And those fans don't leave at the end of the game with 10 minutes to go. Just saying. So they can get more bums on seats to make more money. And people say, well, why don't Celtic do it? Well, if Celtic fans didn't leave with 10 minutes to go, it might give the board a bit of motivation to then go, do you know what? We can fill those seats. But anyway, fans have a right to moan. We are vested partners in the club. We have a vested interest. Anybody that has an interest in the club has a right to have their say. And seeing fans complaining online, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you want to push forward in business, you've got to have two types of people. You've got to have the people that think outside the box and that can take the business forward and that can carry the business and come up with the big plans. And then he can then tell all of these little minions to go and do their jobs and grow the business. And then you can have the yes man. The man that just sits there and go, yep, I'll do that. Trigger. And Trigger's broom comes to mind. Do you know what I mean? So for me, having fans complain is a good thing because it shows that they have a passion for the club. It shows that they want progress. And if you don't have progress, do you know what is the point? You're just going to stagnate. And if you stagnate as a club, you start going backwards. Look at Manchester United. They stagnated. They didn't talk to fans. They didn't listen to fans. The Glazers just went off and did their own thing and invested in all sorts of stupid stuff and wasted so much money. And now look at them. They're in all sorts of trouble. And they're absolutely shite. I think Celtic fans have been the heartbeat of Celtic since the 1990s and before. And I think that the fans that lived through the 1990s and lived through regime change and the chucking out of the old board, we're starting to see little bits of similarities to what happened then to what's happening now. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, I'm just here to just read out the comments. And anyway, sometimes you have to leave early because the boat times change. Yeah, but that's not, Mark, that's not tens of thousands of people. And I get it with the boat because I'd see Mr. Dara saying on his Facebook, look, you need to leave early because we're going to get the boat. I see him saying that. And there's not many games that he does say that. So you can't come on and kid me because I'm on Mr. Dara's Facebook. And I know him quite well. But yes, I do what you... I know what you're saying with that. You have to leave early on those times. But it's the ones that travel to games in cars that I'm talking about, Mark. The ones that just want to jump the traffic and get onto the motorway before that's the issue. Do you know, when you've got 20,000 fans all trying to get on, there's no 20,000 fans trying to get down to Stena Line for the boat, is there? Not a chance. Anyway, good night to you, Stephen Johnson. And I think that's just about us done for the night. How long have we been on? I can't even remember. Just let me bring up God, we've been on for 54 minutes tonight. I haven't had... Jesus. Anyway, the top fans tonight is always in number one position is Stephen Johnson. Mark's in number 2. Jim's in number 3. Cineris is number 4. Mikey Boy's number 5. Ian McBride's number 7. Just the Coins number 7. And Ian's number 6. Just the Coins number 7. Eddie McPhee's number 8. Jamie Brown number 9. And Gareth Robertson's number 10. And then it keeps on going all the way down. God, how low? It goes all the way down to top 50. You've got the top 50 fans on, it's like OnlyFans, but just wrong. Who's got a picture of a Celtic and Rangers fan together on their profile picture? That's just wrong. That is just wrong. Anyway, let me just check up some Celtic news. Celtic receive instant response as offer submitted to sign Serie A star. A bit of it's a bit that Aubert one. The offer was, they went, see, this is why there's no use talking about it. Celtic go in with a low offer for a player and it gets knocked back, and then that's it. What's the point in talking about it until Celtic grab a set of cojones and go out and put in decent bids for players? Because that's what's really letting Celtic down at the moment. Anyway, this board is lazy dinosaurs. It's outrageous they are. It's not outrageous at all. It's just modern day board. Anyway, have an absolutely fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are. And I wonder what James Forrest will do next. That's how we started the video off, didn't we? Anyway, see you in the morning.